The Rankin Bass Hobbit animation rushes through the storyline, but does a good job of expressing Tolkien's worldview and how evil the goblins look and Thorin's desire for treasure at the cost of other lives. Join Ben Avery and I as we discuss Tolkien's worldview in the Rankin Bass Hobbit. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the White City Podcast. Today I have a new guest with me. Actually, he's not a new guest.
Yeah.
A returning one. He's a returning guest, Ben Avery. And with Strangers and Aliens podcast. Yes, and it's great to have you back, Ben.
Good to be back. Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the Rankin Bass Hobbit, which is the animated Hobbit movie from, I don't know, it was like the 70s or something.
It was the 70s. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
might have been, oh man, I want to say 78, but I do feel like I need to look it up now.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is that there was like the original edition that Tolkien had written that actually was before the Lord of the Rings, so he didn't really have like the Lord of the Rings in mind when he was writing it, so he didn't even consider the One Ring that Bilbo gets, right, to be like the actual One Ring until he comes out with the second edition later on, after he had already written some of the Lord of the Rings and realized he was like needing to make things more cohesive, I guess. So yeah, with that being said, there's a point in the movie where it comes up with the fact that that they're basing it off of the original Hobbit, by Tolkien, written by Tolkien. But I don't know, like I looked it up and a source was saying that, oh yeah, it was the original 1930-ish, one that he had written. Then I look at it, I don't know, but I look it up again and something else is saying that is actually the ring that was in the Rankin Bass Hobbit is supposed to be the actual ring. And if you
I would say
way
definitely. I definitely think so, because they went ahead and did Return of the King as well, and it was definitely like they were thinking through that. But yeah. So they definitely streamlined the story for sure. I mean, it's not everything from the book is in the movie, but I feel like they did a pretty good job of presenting the story as hitting. I mean, they hit all the beats. They hit the primary thematic and plot beats, even if the War of Five Armies took 5 minutes. The War of 5 minutes. So
yeah, it's funny at the end they just have these dots going for like all these things that were happening.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah. It's interesting is like in the book, right? Like Bilbo somehow he hits his head and he like just blacks out, right, for the rest of the battle at the end there. But in this one, I guess he was just like put the ring on and just kind of chilled out until it was over. So just to, I want to be thinking about this with, regards to like how it compares with J.R.R. Tolkien's worldview as a Catholic and a Christian. And I this is not necessarily that The Hobbit has all the strong themes that you can necessarily say that The Lord of the Rings does, especially for talking about divine intervention. It's there wasn't necessarily a god at the begin, like in the story when they created it, but I think still at the same time we can still look at it and see different points where we can pull out and say like, uh, it's like too much. It's like too much chance going on or luck going on for like it to not, for it to not be like some sort of divine intervention. Um, I think that would be true. So, um, so let's just like start it off with that. I mean, I don't want to make this necessarily just like a kind of restricted outline of things, but um, looking at like divine intervention in the story, I think you look at like the classic one is where like is Bilbo finding the ring, and you can look at that as where like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings also talks to Frodo and like tells him how like Bilbo was meant to find it, and in the same way like Frodo was meant to have it, and that's the case because there was somebody who, you could say, well, there is a Luvatar in the story, right? In a big way that he is actually like the one, who I'd say would like be referred to there. So, I don't know, any thoughts on that, Ben?
I feel like, especially I mean, the book and the movie both. I mean, but when we're talking about this animated movie, there are so many things that just happen. Like it's just okay. Well, we need to. He hides from the trolls and happens to hide in the cave where the swords are and where Sting is. And there's a lot of just kind of stumbling into things and then just bumbling out of them, so to speak, where it's just like we're gonna
Yeah.
we're going from one adventure to the next, and that's the style of the book is we're just moving from one thing to the next, and I would say even in the movie more than the book, it's more like they just kind of get there and get through. In the book, I do feel like there's more character driven actions that are happening. But I mean, the thing is, I mean, this is my introduction to Tolkien right here. This movie was my introduction to Tolkien. And so I had no idea what was in the book. I had no idea about Lord of the Rings or what that was. All I knew is this was a cool fantasy cartoon that showed up on TV every once in a while. And then we rented it from the library on VHS every once in a while. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. This is probably fifth, sixth grade. Is perfect timing as well for me. But there's all these things then, even when I was young, where I'm like, oh, why? First of all, why did Gandalf choose Bilbo? Why did Gandalf even come in the first place? And then push him into this adventure. And in some ways, when you're taking that divine intervention idea, you have this idea of, okay, Bilbo was chosen for the adventure, but also pushed into it. Like you have the choice to go or not, but you're going whether you want to or not, and that's
That's funny,
sometimes the
yeah.
way God works with us, you have the choice to do this or not, but you really are going to do it. You're going to go through this and you're going to come out on the other side better, or stronger or more wise or whatever it might be. But just all these different things from the thrush, the bird, just happens to be able to speak, understand English and deliver a message, and just happens to be, and they happen to find the cave with the swords, and he happens to find the ring, and they, you know, every step of the way, it's like this journey was kind of guiding them to get to where they needed to go, to do the things they needed to do. And then they rose to the occasion, and especially Bilbo. I mean, that's the one thing is this whole thing is just about Bilbo rising to the occasion, but the occasions were there for him. Like he was the one who needed to be there to take care of the things that needed to happen, even though he's not the one that you would necessarily choose. He's not necessarily the one that you would say, yeah, he needs to lead this adventure. He needs to go and be the one who walks in and confronts the dragon, and who, or at least he didn't get sent in to confront the dragon. He ends up confronting the dragon, but he gets sent in to spy on the dragon, and to interact, in a place where the dragon is. And so I would say, book and cartoon really do kind of deliver that divine intervention kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's just interesting too because, uh, and maybe this is like helpful for one reason why, like the Hobbit wasn't written in light of Lord of the Rings, is because like basically Bilbo was using the ring to get out of all these circumstances, you know, and it's almost like being used for like a good thing, you know, in a sense. So what seems almost like luck, you know, it's like, well, Bilbo was kind of, fell upon this ring and now was using it to help out the, Thorin and company. Um, so that's kind of like, yeah, it's an interesting tie there.
Yeah, it is kind of funny how he just kind of uses it willy nilly and with no consequences at all. He's just,
Right.
I'll just put it on now and it'll be,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. And the other thing that's interesting is a big change between Lord of the Rings lore and Lord of the Rings canon and earlier canon, but specific to this cartoon is Gandalf when he's like, "Oh, I had this thing with Gollum and da 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 da, and then I got out," and Gandalf's that has the ring of truth to it. It
Yes.
definitely
Yes.
rings true. And of course, as a kid, I'm just like, oh, Gandalf knows exactly what Gandalf knows what. How does Gandalf know that Bilbo has that ring? Because it was chance, it was happenstance, but Gandalf knows. And then, of course, in Lord of the Rings canon, I mean, he's going and studying 75 years to see like what is this thing? What is this
Right.
ring? And but in the Hobbit cartoon, it's just yeah, yeah, sounds like you got something there.
Mm-hmm.
You got a ring, huh? And that's it. But
Right. I think it's interesting too, as Bilbo, moves through the story, and it kind of gets some of that, especially at the end, with him, just getting courage.
mhm.
Um, yeah, I'd say that's a big kind of part of his character, in that journey. And at the end, when the they're getting ready for battle, and Thorin tells Bilbo, well, like, because Bilbo's like, I think the best place for me would be to be like captured by the enemy or something, right? So I don't have to be in this at all. And then like Thorin called him a coward for that. And then at the end of the movie, Thorin like makes it up to him and says that like he has an understanding of war. Like he might have said he had a better understanding of
Yeah,
war than
he
than
did.
Thorin
Yeah.
than Thorin did, and yeah, so that's interesting.
That moment, I mean, first of all, again, going back to when I was young and not knowing the book at all, and these dwarves that you've spent time with, that yeah, they kind of had a bad opinion of Bilbo at first. It took a while for them to like accept him or whatever, and of course, a couple of them were concerned about him when fell away. But um, there's that moment at the end where I'm just like, they're dead. Like, these are the heroes. These are the friends, and they're dead. But then Thorin and Bilbo have that moment together, and I I remember as a kid just thinking, "Oh, this is so sad." And I wouldn't have used this word, but powerful too. Like just that moment of reconciliation. I mean, I guess it's not really reconciliation because it's not like they started out friends and grew apart and came back together. It was just they were always apart, and then this brought them together. And Thorin is saying, "Yeah, you understood war better than I." And I don't remember that being in the book, but I definitely feel like that is a 70s interpretation for sure of just war, m- uh, militarism. I mean, we're coming out of the Vietnam War just a few years earlier, and yeah, just that kind of, and there is a hippy dippy feel to this movie because the music and the just all the folk music and that. But yeah, and I think that Tolkien would appreciate that worldview. I would need to go back and read the book to see like how close was that conversation that they have at the end of The Hobbit in the cartoon compared to the book. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because I mean, if I remember correctly from the book, I think Thorin was still on the battlefield whenever Frodo got to him, and there was Fili and Keely beside him, who had like died trying to protect him. Yeah.
It's less bloody in the show though. it's it's definitely sanitized for children, which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
and technically it's
Yeah.
a children's book, but
So one last thing with like divine intervention is, I think for like the Hobbit, it's kind of like this idea of luck, kind of what we're talking about, and things just like happening to work out sometimes. I don't remember what it was, but I think that Gandalf in the beginning of the film said something about the number of the group being a lucky number of like
yes.
14. And is that because like it's in sevens? Because like seven is like, I don't know, Christ called it like the lucky number, right? At least somebody.
Yeah, I have always looked at it as this gets us over the unlucky number 13. So
Okay.
like you got the unlucky number and one more brings us to 14. But they were already at 14. Whenever Gandalf was traveling with them, they were at 14. I always thought that was kind of like, wait a minute, Gandalf, you're not counting yourself? Of course, then he's in and out, and so yeah, they need someone who's going to be stable in there. But
Yeah.
um, I always, I mean, and multiples of seven, so 14 is a lucky number or a holy number, and 21, and these whenever you're using multiples of seven, um, but I always thought of it as we can't travel with 14 or with 13. It has to be 14 or 12. But there's 13 of you. You need one more to make it lucky versus unlucky. That's the way I always thought of it.
Okay. Okay.
And that's
Interesting.
that's my I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
always been just the way I thought of it.
Uh-huh. Okay. Just so the first point we're trying to touch on there is divine intervention. The next three: universal morality, temptation, good versus evil. Those are the other ones that I've liked talking about. So we'll touch on those as well. Um, so I think just like give like a kind of a quick thing about universal morality. So basically, it's the idea that there is always like a right or wrong decision, or there's a right or wrong thing to do, essentially, and that doesn't matter who the character is. Um, like, it's like, taking the ring, like, is always wrong for someone to do in a sense, right? It's like, even no matter if it's Gollum or Frodo or even if it's Sauron, it's like still there's like that, um, like something about the ring, I guess, that makes it just kind of a selfish desire to have. Um, so we're looking at, and there's a lot more things to it than just that. But when we're like, I guess some thoughts I had on like looking at this is, I, it's funny. I thought about something that actually doesn't show up in the movie, and that's when it is similar though. It's like at the end where basically Thorin and company, they're at the mountain and they're talking about how all the gold's theirs and they're not willing to give any of it up. Um, in the book, right, doesn't Bilbo have to make that decision to take the Arkenstone to Bard and the Elf
Yeah,
King, right, Elven King Thranduil, and he has to make that decision. He actually claims it as his 14th share or whatever.
right. Yep, yep. That one stone. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's making that the reason for him to actually give it away. It didn't actually show up in this, and I didn't remember that not being there. But I thought that was like kind of one instance of like in the story of having to like make a right decision. And yeah.
yeah. So I do remember when I read The Hobbit the first time. the whole Arkenstone stuff. I'm like, what is going on here? What is this? Because again, I had seen the Hobbit cartoon a few times before I read the book, and if there's one thing I do not like about the cartoon is that they pulled that out. That just to me is kind of the thematic heart. But they did keep the spirit of it, with just the dwarves being just, this is our treasure, and they have some of the same kind of responses to it, as just they're consumed with greed, and this is ours, not yours, not, you don't deserve any of it. But yeah, I mean, the Arkenstone, that whole thing there, where it's Bilbo, like, he makes a hard call and a difficult decision that he knows he's going to get in trouble for. He knows he's going to get hated for, but he also knows this is what could potentially stop the war. Is if I put this in their hands and get it away from you guys, it's gonna stop things. And in the movie, it's just, we're gonna fight. Uh-oh. Here come orcs.
Yeah.
Are we friends? We're friends now. I think
Yeah.
we're friends now. Are we best friends now?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you still have that with Thorin not listening to Bilbo, just completely discounting what Bilbo has to say. Thorin's like, there's 13 of us, but we're gonna fight the two armies because this is ours. And it's a matter of principle kind of thing. And yeah, the other things, when you're looking at like specific choices in this, there is also, and I've always wondered, like, I go back and forth about like just the riddles in the dark scene, where Bilbo really does kind of cheat. Now granted,
Yeah.
would Gollum have cheated? Yes, he would have. And they softened it a little bit, because he throws out the question, "Oh, what's in my pocket?" And then, "Oh, yeah, this could be okay, you're acting like it's my question? Sure, it's my question." But I've always kind of like, there's a little bit of a part of me that's just, I don't know if Tolkien was thinking this, but was the ring already kind of infecting him and causing him to like make an immoral choice, that, especially when he realizes, oh, it's his. This is his ring. He's going crazy. He's going nuts looking for it now. And I think that's a strength to this movie too, is that you do feel for Gollum. Gollum is not just a evil monster in the dark. He is a sad, twisted thing, and you don't even know why in this. He just is. And he's bad. He kills people. He eats them. That's definitely immoral. It's definitely problematic, but at the same time, it is something where you just kind of look at him and, oh, you just feel for him. And I'm not sure how much the filmmakers were putting in other knowledge from future things, but as a kid, again, going back to when I was a kid, and even now rewatching it, but as a kid, not knowing the context and just knowing this is a bad guy, so to speak, in the movie, but he really is like he's a tragic character, and I didn't know why he was, but he definitely felt it. And
Yeah. Yeah, and you think about that quote that, goes along with what I said earlier between Gandalf and Frodo, where, Frodo says, "It's a pity, like, Bilbo didn't kill Gollum, right?" And Gandalf's like, "Oh, pity's what stayed his hand,"
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and like and Smeagol may yet have some part to play in all of this,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That scene you're talking about right there is one of my favorite scenes, just in general, in all of this, where there's just these moments where Tolkien just, especially with Gandalf, just preaches wisdom, and that's one of them, where it's just like,
Yeah.
it was right. Yeah, it causes problems for us right now, but maybe, yeah, he still has a part to play in this, and he did. So
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's crazy how it all like ended up there. And yeah, I think like what we're talking about with like temptation, or what we've been talking about. Kind of ties some into like temptation, especially with like Gollum in the ring. Because like you were saying, he's like searching for it fanatically, just like trying to find it, right? But it's almost like he hasn't used it in a while too, because it ends up, you know, somewhere in the movie, in the animation. It says like, was that what it said? He said, oh yeah, Gollum was saying how he remembered like maybe dropping it by the shore. So I don't know, like I don't remember that. I don't know. It's been a while since I read the book, so
Yeah.
but
It does feel like he has not had it for a while, and like he didn't even realize it was missing until the fear, the dread hits him. Wait a minute. That question might have to do with my thing, my precious, and
yeah, yeah. I guess I think in the book there's that talk of dragon sickness that kind of comes over Thorin, and I think that was I think they kind of tried to show that in the film as well. With it was even like the other dwarves as well. I forget there was like a certain point where they're all like, "Yes, we will like keep the treasure for ourselves,
yeah.
right? And we're not gonna let this go." So I guess like greed maybe is a part of like is like a temptation for dwarves in general.
And it just comes across so unreasonable when they're facing two armies. It's just absurd. But that's what kind of drives it home then. It's like, it is absurd. Yeah, it is. But it's intentional. It's not because Tolkien wasn't thinking this through. It was not because not because Rankin and Bass weren't thinking it through. It's intended to be that way. And it's impactful to me. Now, I do wonder with the style of this thing, like, I remember my son watched it once. I don't think he ever wanted to return,
Yeah.
and so I do wonder, like, because of, things we're talking about where they go through things so breezily, and they, you have the music and the folk music, but they still, to me, it's impactful when you have Thorin and the other dwarves just ready to die. Like, this is the hill they're going to die on, literally. We're not going to give anyone anything of our gold.
Right.
Even though the humans probably deserve a little bit of help, no matter, whatever else, we should at least help them. No, because it's our gold.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wonder if there was some kind of a trade agreement between Dale. Like, Dale was just right below the mountain, right? So I feel like that the dwarves heavily relied on the men to be able to get the gold out, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. Any thoughts on that? More temptation things, or
I mean, not too much. No, I mean, temptation as a whole in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Once you pull the Arkenstone out, you lose a big element of that, but it's still there. It's definitely still there.
yeah, yeah. And I appreciate how they even do that at the end. They are cutting out. I mean, they're not like the important parts. They're keeping the important parts. There are just like smaller things all over the place that they are moving. There's no Beorn. There's no Beorn.
There's no time for it. I mean,
But
That was another one when I read the book. I'm like, what the heck? What is this?
hmm yeah. But um all right, so let's move to good versus evil in the animation. And I mean, I think that honestly, like, I appreciate it. So if you think about watching the Hobbit film, like the trilogy, and you think about all the evil characters, and like whenever you first come across the trolls, like they're these pale, almost like smooth skinned beings. And I mean, yeah, they're still kind of disgusting, but like I'd have to say that I think watching like the animation, I felt like that they were just it's like, all right, these guys just like look like they're on the bad side, you know. You don't have to double guess that. But that's just something that you know hit me. Even though like the goblins even look they just look horrible. It's like
They're
they look horrible.
so weird and distorted, and uh, but I mean that's a part of this though is the visual style. They use the visual style to make statements, so you can look at someone and know exactly Gandalf stands tall and regal. Elrond stands tall and shines bright and is regal, and you know Bilbo and the dwarves are very earthy and very homely in some ways, or uh, and then you get to the wood elves, and they're kind of not quite evil looking, but they're hunched and they're a little bit inhuman, and then they come with that attitude as well, like the haughty attitude, the we are above you, and the arrogance is there, and they're drawn with that arrogance. They end up being good in the end. They work together with the dwarves and the humans, but and then the humans are all look noble, like all of them are very noble looking. And so when the humans come and say we deserve a part of your treasure, just visually you're kind of on their side because they do look noble and they're not doing anything. There's no irony in this at all. When the closest to irony is the wood elves look funky but end up being good. But yeah, the orcs with their giant mouths when he's
Hmm
coming to like bite the head off, it's like his mouth is so big,
Yeah.
and it's a visual metaphor for the internal being of these good creatures and evil creatures in a very fairy tale good and evil style, which I look at the Hobbit, the book, as a fairy tale. The Lord of the Rings is the epic, and it's the epic saga, but the Hobbit is the fairy tale, and this there's very clear lines for the most part, except for when you involve Bilbo. Some of the things Bilbo does, you're just like, was that right? Was that wrong? I don't know. The riddles in the dark, and the Arkenstone stuff, where he steals, like he does steal, even though technically they owe him a 14th of the treasure. He stole it, and but that's because he's our character. He's the guy we're following, and he's the one that we're supposed to relate to. And but I definitely feel like the good and evil in this movie is presented visually and very strongly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um I mean there are some like Gollum, and they don't really give much time to Gollum, but he's like maybe the only really great character. Um I don't know, like, see, yeah, it's like it's interesting because I remember talking about the Hobbit trilogy, with another friend who does a movie podcast. There are three of us. One guy is very much I mean, he knows his stuff. He loves reading the books. He loves digging into it, so he knows a lot of information, the letters, etc. So he said that he thought that Thranduil in the movie trilogy was, how would you say, almost too mean, I guess. Too, I don't know. I don't know if haughty is the word, but it seemed that I felt that though that he and Thranduil in the book though even was still kind of had that haughtiness to him. But I could be wrong, and
I think he did. I mean, he's a king, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Thorin is a king, and he considers himself elevated above everyone else. And then you throw Bilbo in the works. It's like, Gandalf, what were you thinking? Man, why are you throwing this guy in with us? He's got no skills. He's got nothing to offer. Turns out he has a lot to offer. And a lot of what he has to offer comes from his humbleness and humility. And that's something that, again, brings Bilbo and Thorin together, where Thorin's like, you have some wisdom there, and you have something there. And when we talked before, I can't remember if we said this on my podcast when you visited me for the War of the Rohirrim, or if it was the other one when I was with you on your podcast. But I said, here's my viewing order for Lord of the Rings on screen. Mm-hmm. It's watch Rings of Power, definitely. I feel like you should watch it. I like it. I liked it a lot. And is it perfect? No, it's not. But is it good? For me, it was. War of the Rohirrim, whatever it is. War of the Rohirrim, keep it in there. Definitely put that in your order. This is a part of your on-screen canon for sure. It's and I love it. It's heroic. It is epic. It's big. It's bombastic. But there's a humanness to it, and watch that. And then you get to The Hobbit. This is what you watch. You watch this version of The Hobbit, because this version of The Hobbit is the book that Bilbo wrote when he was writing about his adventures. And then skip to the trilogy, capital T trilogy, Lord of the Rings. Skip the Hobbit trilogy. Do not bother with the Hobbit trilogy. I watched them. I watched them twice. Once in theaters, once at home, and then a third time extended editions. So I guess technically 3 times. But did I hate them? No. Did I like them? Not really. And
yeah.
It's just because they changed so much and did so much, and there's so much I would have done differently. And, but they didn't hire me to write the Hobbit screenplay. But I've done adaptations. I've adapted Bible stories. I've adapted George Martin's work into comic books. I've written screenplays, and I've worked on animation and things. And could they have hired me? Yeah, but would they have trusted me? No. I wouldn't have trusted myself. Okay. I'm not putting myself up there. I'm just saying there's things I would have done differently because I love that book so much.
Yeah.
And they changed so much. Skip that. That doesn't, you don't need that. You need this version of The Hobbit to take us. And then, honestly, in The Lord of the Rings, they flash back enough to Bilbo. They flash back enough to Gollum, Smeagol. You don't even need The Hobbit when you're watching The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
You don't because it's there for you. But this animated Hobbit, I think, does such a great job of pulling things in, telling a tight story that does lead into Lord of the Rings. Is it perfect? No, but especially if you look at it as this is the book that Bilbo wrote, and warts and all, but he didn't understand the grand scheme of things. And when he has Gandalf say, "You have a ring of truth," to what there is a definite ring. The truth rings in what you say. Um, it's just clever wordplay,
Yeah.
and not special wisdom, special knowledge on Gandalf's part. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sorry. That's my rant about the
Oh,
Hobbit
yeah.
trilogy. I just
Mm-hmm.
there's so much skill and talent and beauty that went into it. There is definitely skill and talent and beauty in that trilogy. The music, the vistas, the acting, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. I definitely, man, like, I know I've read The Hobbit a couple of times, and I read it in school whenever I was in middle school, and I saw the animated Hobbit, before the trilogy Hobbit, and I think my parents still have the VHS
Nice.
of the Hobbit
Nice.
with them. And I thought about this like a little bit ago. I was like, what if I tried to get like a VHS to DVD like converter, you know?
Hmm.
That would be kind of cool. But yeah, there's like hardly any way to watch that anymore. Um, but uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't experience it when it first came out. It was 77. We didn't know the year. It was 1977. It was on NBC primetime animated special presentation kind of a thing. But when I did see it, I was watching it on a black and white television with commercial breaks, and and when you're watching it on so I watched it on HBO Max. There's still commercial breaks for my uh, subscription level, but not every break is a commercial break on HBO Max. And so you have that time when the music rises, cut to black, and then we're back into the story again. And same with on DVD, because I can't find my DVD because it's in a box somewhere from our move 4 years ago. But um, yeah, that was one when it came out on DVD. I made sure, like, that's going home with me. I bought it probably from Walmart or whatever, but as soon
Yeah.
as I saw it was coming out on DVD, that is going home with me.
Mm,
So,
yeah. Well, any ending thoughts you have in
um,
particular?
no, I was going to ask you, like, when you first saw it. So that was something I was really curious about, like when you had first seen it. I
Mm-hmm.
will say this is going beyond the scope a little bit, but The Hobbit is one of my top 5 books of all time that I've read. I just love
Mm-hmm.
it so much. I even put it higher if I'm ranking things. I put it higher than Lord of the Rings. I know that that's a unpopular opinion, um, but it shouldn't be, because it's just opinion. It's not that I'm saying it's better than Lord of the Rings. I'm just saying I like it more. And I have this cool box set that is one of the coolest reads I ever had, and it's got The Hobbit in it. But then it has these books that are like it's the history of The Hobbit, and it actually
Mm.
has like um, Tolkien's notes and different drafts and things. And so it just kind of walks you through his creation process of The Hobbit and where it came from, and um, different versions and variations as he was going along the way. And these books right here were some of the most fascinating, amazing reading I have ever had the pleasure to feast my eyeballs upon, just because it was like stepping into what I think is a master work, but then also getting to see behind the scenes of the master. And so whether you think The Hobbit is a masterwork or not, you get to see the whole process with the master here. And I'm not sure. There are probably some things like this with Lord of the Rings. But for me, this was when I heard that it was coming out, it's like, that sounds interesting. I might get it. And then I got it and I read it, and I was just, that was the best, let's say I know I didn't pay $95 for it, but that's the cover price. Um, I know I didn't pay that much for it. But if I had, I probably would still say best $95 ever spent on any kind of book set,
Yeah.
because that, and then the book, the Hobbit volume that it comes with is that kind of not quite a replica of the original, but a very, very close replica kind of a thing. And so yeah, that's a treasure in my book collection for sure. So I love the Hobbit. I love the book. I love this animated version. Oh, we didn't talk about the art style other than the characters, but the background artwork, the settings, and the landscapes. It all feels like, not that it came from Tolkien's pen, but it feels like someone looked at it and said, "Okay, let's make a stylized fantasy world that's consistent." But the launching point was definitely, I think, looking at Tolkien's artwork and saying, this is his vision, and now you go draw your vision, and then we're gonna, animate that. And I think that the art in this thing is well worth the 90 minutes it takes you to watch, for sure. Even if you don't like the cartoon, I feel like this is Tolkien homework. if you Even if you wouldn't like this kind of thing, you should at least watch it once and experience it, because there is so much good to it. So that'll be my final thing. If you ever looked at it and said, that's not my kind of thing, do the homework and at least experience it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
It's
maybe
interesting.
watch the Bakshi and then the Rankin Bass Return of the King.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, talking about that, like the background scenes and all, I definitely picked up like the way that they would pan things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like it looked like it was just basically like more or less a background, and they were just like moving over it.
Yeah.
But then I would see like the eagles flying in the distance, coming closer, and I was like, okay, all right, like they did that really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't just a static picture and we're just panning over it. I mean, it is, but then they're doing things with it. And yeah, there's talent. And then a lot of these people who worked on this for Rankin Bass went on to become part of the work with Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. And so, like, The Hobbit, as a corporate decision, we're going to make a thing and pay people to make this thing. The people they brought together to make that thing with the money from NBC to Rankin Bass then turned into where we get My Neighbor Totoro and Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind and Princess Mononoke. Like, there's a line between The Hobbit. It's just yeah, if you're going to be one of those conspiracy theorists who does the yarn on the wall with the pictures, this is just one strand of red thread. Hobbit, Studio Ghibli, and it's just, without the Hobbit, there would not be a Studio Ghibli.
So is that like the is that like anime or?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Nausicaa Valley of the Wind, and yeah, there she is right there.
Okay.
And so Miyazaki did he did manga and comics, and then they animated a lot of his comics. They also did some original work it was directly to anime. But yeah, I mean, if you like high fantasy, if you like the War of the Rohirrim and any kind of high fantasy, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind and Princess Mononoke, I would highly recommend those. If you like something like a Narnia or maybe even The Hobbit, Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro. I'm trying to think of what else I would recommend in that vein from them. Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. The Little Mermaid. They adapted Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid into a modern day kind of a thing. Oh man, I can't remember the name of it though. Anyway, yeah, it's Studio Ghibli though. If you look that up, there's a nice library of just beautiful and heartfelt anime movies that transcend anime in a way that so if you have in your mind like these are the tropes of anime, just throw that away and just be ready to just watch a movie that's going to sweep you away into a fantasy world that is realized and heartfelt.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's really important to have, the production team like almost have like a passion for what they're doing in a big way. And I mean, I think there are definitely some things that are produced in general that people are like, well, did they really enjoy the original story and like wanted to keep to that? Like there
Yeah.
are some things, some shows, like some people would claim that about Rings of Power. Did they really respect the source material? But you know, this is a good representation of the Hobbit book. I would definitely say. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and catch us for our next episode next week. Thanks.